I thought it'd be kind of cool to let these guys hear some of the stuff that you have to say, especially because it's so in line with the social circle stuff that I'm talking about.
Awesome.
So one thing I want to do is I want to just kind of get your history of, because I think you kind of worked in like the kind of a very similar order that your normal guy life wants to live. Like like the stuff that I talk about. I'm kind of like a deviant a little bit. Like I want to live almost the opposite of a normal life. I've kind of like normal life goals, but at the same time, I feel like your linear progression worked really, really well. Meaning, you kind of had like the college party thing, then you moved into like business networking, and then you moved into networking in other ways, and then it kind of just went up from there, right?
Sure.
But how did you get started in social networking in general?
So I grew up in a very conservative Asian family, but when I was 12 years old, I found that my dad, he was a college professor at the time. And late at night, he used to go out to the university and he basically just grade all night long. And I would have to stay with him, hang out there. But across the street, there was a local bar. So I went to the owner of the bar and I said, hey, I'd love to pass out flyers if you let me into your bar. I'm 12 years old. And this is a bar, so it's kind of illegal. But he was like, yeah, sure, no problem.
I like the kind of illegal. Yeah. This was Sacramento?
Yeah, this is in Sacramento. Back then also, bars were totally able just to have everyone smoking weed or doing whatever they wanted in the bars.
Really?
Yeah, this was back in the 80s, right? So back then, I went to the bar coming home at 12 years old, smelling like weed. I wasn't smoking or anything. I was hanging out backstage with different rock bands. It was really cool. I got to meet Bush, Deftones, Korn, Cake. It was really fun.
This was a bar that also had live music.
Yeah, there was like dancing, so I'd hang out with the college girls, and I think I might look the same now as when I was 12, so it's kind of cool. I'd be hanging out with the college girls, they don't know how old I am. And
you still can.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was really fun. And I got to use that as my way to hang out, because my soul circle was basically college. It was kind of cool. At age 12, my dad would even have me go to college classes. So I would actually be attending student functions, student activities, student organizations, and it was all in computer science. He wanted me to be a computer engineer or a professor or some kind.
He didn't want you to grow up to be a famous pickup artist?
Yeah. I remember when I told my dad, after going to boarding school and going to college, I told my dad I wanted to create this company. And I was wearing a sombrero. I was at Chevy's celebrating my birthday. And he thought it was a joke, so he just laughed hysterically for 5 minutes.
When was that? You told him about the pickup company?
Yeah, the pickup company. I was like, yeah, so I met this guy, and there's this magician, there's this guy who's a Rolling Stone magazine writer, and I met this guy, his nickname is Tyler Durden because he posts on the internet these articles. And we're gonna go move into this mansion in the Hollywood Hills to teach guys how to pick up girls. We're gonna fill it with bunk beds, and we're gonna use that to fund our life. So we can pick up girls, and we'll charge $2,000.
Did you say that so we can pick up girls? You explain the whole thing to them?
Yeah, so we want to be able to fund their life.
Wow.
And after explaining it, my mom just laughed hysterically. They started crying. Like, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. I'm trying to elaborate. No, they thought I was joking. So I was trying to elaborate. I was like, no, this is good because it's gonna fund the life. It pays for itself. Trust me, it's gonna be awesome. And like, no, it's so funny, Until I actually did it, and it's like, okay, we're gonna cut you out of the family. We're gonna disown you. You're not gonna pay for your college. But they
did they actually me. At first they were that
well, that's what they said, but. I grew up my whole life hearing things like that from my parents. Like, even if I got too much food on my plate, my dad would say, your eyes are bigger than your stomach, and just my mom would say, prove your dad wrong. And just things like that, just always antagonizing me to try to push myself. So I thought this was one of them. This is just one of them.
That's funny. I just like the professionalism of the sombrero at Chevy's as you're telling them the business plan.
Yeah. I mean, I went into the party promotion life as a way to meet girls because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. You have parties. This is kind of like my whole life.
Wait, okay, so like you kind of got started though because you kind of got started in game because didn't you create a bit of a social circle and a social life, but then it wasn't quite getting you the results you wanted because you weren't doing it in the right ways?
Exactly. I mean, I guess when I really got an epiphany for parties and trying to bring a social circle was when I was in boarding school. Because I started bribing taxi drivers for $20 to bring alcohol, and I'd go to Princeton, party with them. And then I'd go out to New York and I'd rent out nightclubs with a fake ID that said I was over 21, invite all my high school friends in there. And then they got shut down because they probably got busted renting out clubs to guys like myself. But I got so good at that when I was in college, I literally was the party guy. If you ask anyone who went to college at the University of Wisconsin-Madison between 1998 and 2003 if they had heard about Nick Papa Giorgio. That was my nickname.
Wait.
You heard about
me. Nick Papa what?
Nick Papa Giorgio.
Giorgio.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I mean, there was a movie called Chevy Chase Las Vegas Vacation. I didn't even see the movie.
Me neither.
But it was really popular. It was about a kid who got a fake ID and was having crazy pyro parties in Vegas. And I was kind of like that guy. I was throwing underage parties, like renting out $20,000 a night parties for supper clubs.
Was this in Madison?
This is Madison on the lake. So I had like
Lake
255
Geneva, is that what it is?
foot motor yachts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have kegers in dorms, but like every single room in the floor would be a keger.
So your strength at the time was really the organizing of the whole deal.
Yeah, it was kind of like a business for me. That's why so much parallel, like a Soul Circle to business. I had like my own newsletter. I had interns working for me, passing out newsletter in the dormitories. I had little
foreshadowing.
little pins with a red rose on it that were passed out to people who were part of the club. We had dollars made with my name on it, passed out to people to get free drinks, poker chips for free food at the restaurants that we rented out. And it was awesome. It was epic. But I didn't really know how to hook up with these girls. So I wanted to transition.
Your strength since I've ever started talking about this a long time ago has always been about like the theme aspect of it, right? Because I think a lot of guys try to set up events and parties, and a lot of the YouTube comments, like on the video that we did on your channel, a lot of the comments talk about how people don't want to either spend all the money or put in all the work to do these parties. But you're going to put in the work in some way anyway, right? Like whether it's the work of just going to the 68th floor and in the hotel or whatever it might be, right? You're still gonna put in all that work. It just makes it, the work ends up becoming very logical if you put the work into like a theme party. And it's really not that much work. It's just, what I've noticed is you're really good at, like, for example, the poker chips or all the different bits that you just mentioned. Like any guy can go out there and just put those into place. It doesn't take a genius to do it. It just takes a little bit of cleverness to actually put all those things together, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. I love themes. I mean, when I was in Boston, I went to Boston after I met my wife, and I wanted to throw parties out there. So we had this crazy house, and every month we had a different party. So one month we had a Mexican party. So we had a mariachi band and piñata, Mexican food. We had Mexican ponchos and hats to pass out to everyone. We had Mexican music and Mexican,
mariachi or whatever,
and we had Mexican beers and wines and tequilas and drinks and everything. The next month we had a video game party. And it was focused on The Legend of Zelda. So I had an orchestra come down from New York, and I had everything from Etsy purchased that said The Legend of Zelda on it, and filled my whole house, made it look like the Lost Woods. I had the Link cap passed out for everyone. We had all the foods from the game, so like chicken, and we had a potion station.
Shut up. That's awesome.
We even had the ocarina. We had the conductor learn how to play the ocarina, so it's like ocarina in time, like an instrument. So they played it from that. We'd have a blues party. So a blues party would be like we'd have a blues band, Corton Blue for food, blue labeled alcohols, blue wine. We'd have, every single month was a party. When someone was a Hawaiian, we had fire dancers, hula dancers, Hawaiian music, Hawaiian foods, luau, multiple tiki bars. But we did this even throughout college. I mean, in my fraternity, every single week we'd have a different theme party.
And were you, did it get to a point where you were closing in college? Or were you?
I'd hook up with girls in college, but it wasn't like cold approach. It was kind of like, well, actually, it sometimes was cold approach, but it wasn't like what you're doing. I mean, you really got this locked down because you combine your pickup skills with a Soul Circle game, and I think that's awesome. When I got into pickup, that's when things started to change. I didn't know how to walk up. I didn't know the process of attraction or all that stuff.
So it was like, so even though you're good at building the social circles, because that's one of the big potential negatives that people run into when they are, considering building social circles, is that they just create all these friends in their life that they're actually not pulling from,
right?
That they're not actually closing.
And that was my biggest problem in college because, I hooked up with girls in college, lost my virginity in college, dated some awesome girls.
It was almost an accident kind of thing, or what?
Sometimes, I was really just, I was still just doing what a normal guy would do. I'd ask girls out, go out with them, every now and then hook up, but it wasn't like that consistent game plan. I didn't have like a logistical game plan. So it all started when I started really getting into like a certain girl, and that girl I couldn't get. And my friend and I used to always share ideas and talk about pickup because he was always hooking up with girls all the time.
About pickup,
no, he's like a natural guy. Yeah. He would share stories, and all of his friends were hooking up with girls consistently. And I would hang out with these guys all the time. I would just take them out, we'd share drinks, we'd go to dinner, we'd just share pickup stories. And I was the one guy who wasn't really consistently hooking up with girls. I was dating girls, but they were hooking up with them. So one of the guys showed me this website. It doesn't really exist anymore. At the time, it was called MASF, which is moderated alt.seduction.fast.
Was it the group, the Usenet group first?
Yeah, the Usenet group and then the forums.
Okay, because I was on
Yeah.
fastseduction.com, but that was like right after that.
Yeah, so we were on that before it got destroyed.
Were you on the lounge?
I was on the lounge.
Okay.
So I basically met a guy who was a member of the lounge, and he introduced me to.
That's how you got into it. You met a guy in person?
Well, I met a guy who was a
didn't know.
student of mysteries.
Yeah.
His name was Feds, and he had a nickname. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, he was really into pickup, and he said, "Hey, man, you should meet up with this guy named Mystery. You should check out these forums. You should go out and do this stuff." So I said, "You know what? I'll try."
I love that. I love that conversation. I love finding out everyone's first conversation where it's like when they find out about the secret society, right?
Yeah.
It's like now it's YouTube, but back then it was like some guy would just be like, "Hey, you should check out these forums. You got to log in with this website with it." You know what I mean? It was kind of funny, but
Yeah, and back then people weren't meeting up in real life. It just wasn't happening.
So there weren't even like layers back then at the time.
There were layers, but the layers were only focused on hypnosis. So back in the
layers were all
day,
like
there
NLP
was
hypnosis.
it was an epiphany that you could actually pick up girls without hypnotizing a girl because you're too ugly, fat, or poor. That was the premise back then.
That's gonna be the tagline. How to pick up a girl if you're ugly, fat, and poor using hypnosis.
hypnotize
Yeah, you have to hypnotize.
And
them.
honestly, people believe that. And when we went there with,
That's how you is the hypnosis. So you went to the first.
well,
group
people
or what?
actually would carry crystal balls. They'd have necklaces. They're totally ingrained in this belief. And so Owen and I would walk up to these people, and we would go out and pick up girls. And
Well, but you didn't meet Owen at that point yet.
No, that's right. So
how did
Owen-
you get into the? How did you get into
So
the
I ended up meeting up with Mystery and Neil Strauss first, and then I said, "Well, these guys are awesome. I should wing with these guys." And then I got into the lounge, and they made me the admissions director because I was really interested in meeting other people. I was like, "Well, if there's real guys as opposed to just guys trolling, I should meet up with them." So I basically spent the next year just traveling around the world, meeting up with all these people. I probably met 90% of the members of the lounge.
Wow.
And then
You're
they
probably the only person to actually do that.
yeah, I was just traveling around, just spending as much money as I could just to fly and meet people, being their wingman, trying to learn from them, and I had detailed reports. And one of the guys who applied was Tyler, and I was the admissions guy, so they had to meet me in person. But what I had to do is he got me on the phone, and we talked for 4 hours about pickup. And it was really cool. I was like, wow, this guy's just as hardcore as me. So we ended up talking 4 hours every day for 30 days. And I said, I want to meet you. I'm going to organize the first North American Pickup Artist Convention in Montreal. And we had all these guys from the lounge come in, and Owen was there. And we ended up talking and meeting and creating a game plan to continue traveling together. One of them was that I got an email from a guy who said he'd let us crash at his place in San Diego as long as we taught him how to pick up girls. And I said, hey, Tyler, check this out. He goes, well, tell this guy I'm the missing piece to his game. So I said that. He invited both of us to come down. We ended up just creating a program for him, teaching him how to pick up girls.
That was the first one.
It was the first like day game kind of like pickup
That's
program.
right, because you guys did day game only at first, right?
At first
and
we
the night
did-
game was like a bonus they could come hang out with you.
Yeah, that's right. We did first. Well, we went up with this guy at night, but almost all the teaching was during the daytime because at night we wanted to pick up girls. Then we started creating a series of workshops that were all day game only. If you want to go out at night, that's fine, but we're just going to pick up our own girls. And we just wanted to work during the day to fund our travel. So we ended up helping this guy, and he told everyone about what we were doing, and he goes, "Oh, we don't believe you." So he said, well, we're real. Meet with us in New York City. 30 people showed up at Starbucks to hang out with us. He said, if anyone gives us $600 to cover our flights down here, we'll create a program, 3 days, and we'll take you out. But 90% of those guys signed up. So we ended up doing it there, and it made a bunch of money. So we ended up doing it again next weekend in San Francisco, and the same thing happened.
Wow.
And we just kept growing from there until 3 months later, we were in this mansion in the Hollywood Hills. It was
Oh, so it happened that quick
fast.
before you did
Super fast.
the house by Mel's. It was that quick, pretty much.
it was super rapid speed, rapid fast.
So did you do?
I mean, basically, the amount of revenue we were generating every weekend was like 5 figures. So we had more than enough money to cover the rent of this mansion in the hills, like within a month. We were seeing that there was such a high interest. We did a program 2 months later in London. 60 people showed up. We had so many students, we had to extend our stay. We did the same thing in Australia. It was supposed to be a weekend trip. We had like 80 to 100 students want to sign up for the program.
Wow.
So we ended up extending our stay for 3.5 weeks.
So at
No,
what point when you, because if you never did Project Hollywood, I don't think I would have done my Project Vegas, because that's where I got the idea to do it, right?
Yeah.
So which was my like container to build all my social circle stuff, because for me too, I basically got this 15 bedroom mansion in Vegas. And I packed it with 15 to 20 guys who committed a year minimum to stay there, right? And I got the idea straight from you guys.
It was cool. It was really unique. We had a bedroom that was full of bunk beds. It used to be Courtney Love's room beforehand because she moved into that room. And then when she moved out because she got caught beating up her boyfriend, we filled it with bunk beds.
That's a thug. When like the girl gets in trouble for beating the shit out of her boyfriend.
Little lamp started beating him, and she had to go to rehab.
I love that chick. Yeah.
Yeah, and in order to fund her rent, because she was always late on rent, she was spending all of her money. She gave us her car. The next day, it gets repossessed. It was a BMW. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's totally crazy.
So were you doing Xeni at the time that you were doing Project Hollywood, or was that after?
What happened is,
like how many like were you guys doing a lot of parties in the mansion or no?
Just for you guys who don't know what Xeni is, Xeni was the most powerful party club in the world. Members paid $2,000 to $25,000 a month. There was like an 8-to-1 girl to guy ratio. Every female or male celebrity you've ever heard of attended these parties. And basically, the bars closed at 2 a.m. in LA. So we had parties from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., but it wasn't in the bar, it was in the movie studio. And we weren't serving alcohol or breaking any laws because everything was free. You just had to pay a membership fee, and it's a private venue. And then that would happen every week, and we'd also every week have a mansion we'd rent out. And at these mansions, we'd have all-day parties from like 12 p.m. until like 6 p.m. And they'd have poker, beautiful girls, pool, DJs, and then throughout the week, people would have ball service.
That's cool. So how did you get started with Xeni? Like how did it evolve?
We had the promoters behind Xeni throw a party at Project Hollywood Mansion after the Grammys, and it was such an epic party that we had people trying to climb a mountain to get up our house, climb a fence, and we'd have bouncers all over the fence throwing them down the hill. They're just trying to sneak into the house because it's so crazy.
You have Mel's at the bottom, and then you have this like jagged hill, and then it's that house. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on sale now for $47 million.
Well, burned down. They rebuilt
it burned down. They rebuilt a modern version of the house.
It looks so similar to
it. Looks exactly the same as modern.
Yeah, it's so funny. My favorite part about that house, you know what's funny is I've closed so many girls in that house. Because a bunch of other guys rented it to try to do it similar, right? A bunch of yahoos, and it was funny. Like there were a bunch of these yahoos that tried to like do a pickup business out of it, and like none of them actually like closed in the house. And I would close girl after girl there because I would come to LA and that's the house that I would stay in because I knew them, right? I closed at least 5 girls just in the pool area because that pool area, it almost looked like a mini oasis with like it was like different levels within like the trees around it. So how did you guys meet them and arrange them like the situation where they could actually do the after party at the house?
Well, they had the whole party indoors and outdoors. Up the house, there's like bars outdoors, like on the pool. Inside the house was a built-in bar. They had a live DJ on the inside and outside of the house.
Did you plan it, or you just gave them the space?
No, I just gave them the space, and we were like, well, if you're going to throw a party and pay for everything, that's totally cool. You can have the house for free. This sounds epic.
And I think that's the thing that a lot of guys don't understand, though, is that I think people look at like, at least when they see some of the content, I think they look at you and I as guys who are either like spending a shit ton of money, or they're looking at us, because a lot of guys are asking me like, well, how do you do this? How much money are you spending, all that stuff? Well, if I was doing it a quid pro quo and I was actually putting the money in to get the same things out of it, it would lose its luster to me. Like it wouldn't be the same, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my parties even in Boston, I had an alcohol sponsor sponsoring my alcohol at every event. I even had sponsors for food, for wine and cheese and all sorts of stuff.
People don't realize how easy it is to do that.
Super easy.
Like right now, in 30 minutes, I can get an alcohol sponsor to sponsor any event you could possibly want to throw out.
There are websites of guys who host parties for you. They just want to get their product in front of a crowd. So you can just contact them. You're like, you want to throw a party? You want to host and show my stuff? Yeah, it's totally fine as long as I can market my stuff or sell some of my stuff to some people.
Yeah, and people don't realize that. They think that it's like a lot of work to have to recruit all of it and then spend all this money. They realize that like, now granted, you did have the mansion, but you had the mansion because you also arbitraged a bunch of other things. You arbitraged all the the rent for it, right? Because it was I think the house was about $14K at the time, $15K.
Yeah.
And it was only a 4-bedroom house. Like this wasn't a mansion with all these rooms.
So we had people in the bathrooms. Even there's closets attached to the bathrooms. Like Owen, for example, he had a closet. If you swing the door one way, there's another entrance, and so we put another person next to Owen. So they were sharing closets attached to my bathroom. We had people that were in closets in the basement. We even had a guy living in a tent in my backyard.
I think we know that guy.
Yeah.
I think he's an RSD.
And then in the summertime, he'd sneak behind the bar because it's too hot outside.
I remember people telling me stories. You know who told me stories? Herbal was telling me some stories about you guys having to kick him out of the bar because he kept coming in because the weather wasn't appropriate.
Yeah, it's like, well, that's basically a rent to somebody else, man. You gotta take your own tent.
Hey, get back in your tent.
And you have to buy your own tent. You have to buy his own tent.
That's funny. I think the thing to understand though is that like as silly as that kind of sounds, it like you kind of level up when you're doing this kind of game.
Well,
that's why I like this.
People were willing to do that is because they had access to RSD and were helping them out with game so much that they felt was worthwhile. And they also had access to the parties we had and the nightlife.
Which is cool because it's cool because the group that's hosting the parties, they don't have one of their own, so they just need to find people who have it. So when you arbitrage all this stuff together, immense things happen, and it's a lot easier, I think, than people think, right? So how soon from you getting the house to how soon from you guys getting that house to throwing that first Exini party was it?
That took about 3 months.
So it was pretty early on.
I found promoters. They introduced me to other promoters, and I basically did it from very early. I just knew that the people working the door, just like a natural thing that you do also, I mean, but a natural thing I did is the people working the door, they're obviously at the door for a reason, not just because they want to stand by the door, but they're wearing like a fancy suit and whatever. They probably like know people that are in the party industry, the nightlife industry. So I just started hanging out with these guys. Say, hey man, I'd love to talk to you more about the industry. Let's go grab a bite to eat, invite them out for dinner and had to hang out. We share stories, introduced me to people, and those people led to contacts that allowed me to throw these parties. And then Exini, what they did is they kind of collaborated and took what I was doing and just took it to a higher level. And I joined the advisory board for that, along with 12 other people. And that kind of gave us this thing that allowed me to use Cold Approach and combine it with social circle games. Because I wasn't anymore organizing the party. I wasn't organizing the logistics. I didn't have to hire a staff and plan or prepare. We had an operations team that did everything. All I had to do was go out to the bars and clubs and get phone numbers of hot chicks and bring them. And so I had a phone with like 2,000 girls. I would just text them, and then I get 10% showing up, like 200 girls showing up.
So that's how you can combine, because everyone's so interested in how I combine social circle and Cold Approach game. The main way that I combine it is I do exactly that. I have a reason for actually cold approaching these girls. When you have a justified reason to actually meet up with them, it becomes so much easier. Like when people see that you had 2,000 phone numbers or 3,000 phone numbers, it sounds like a lot of numbers, and it is, but when you have a reason to actually, when you're talking to those girls, you're kind of a quasi-promoter throughout the interaction. You have a good reason on why you're inviting them. It's not just, hey, you want to go grab drinks? You want to hang out sometime? I mean, you have an actual legitimate thing.
2 to 3 year period getting all that together.
Yeah, but when you're talking to each one, you have a legitimate thing that you're actually sending them to, right?
Yeah, and I put them on a text message list where I invite them out not just to parties, but my own things. Lunches, dinners, regular dating. And I would just invite them out also to group settings, like what you do. Like I might invite girls I was interested in dating, maybe 10, 20 of them at a time. If 2 or 3 of them show up, it's cool. And it was kind of like what you're doing. And we just all like hang out. We might go out and do something like every Sunday I would do this. So I had Sunday Fun Day, where I would just choose my liquor of choice, and we would go from every bar, just bar hopping, just choosing one alcohol. So if it was martinis, we'd go get a martini at every single bar. If it was wine, we'd grab some wine at every bar. And it was ended up at my place at the end. It was a lot of fun.
You did that in like by the beach in LA, right? Was it like?
I actually did in Santa Monica.
Santa Monica, yes. Right.
Yeah, for martinis, and then for shots, I would do that in Pasadena, and wine in Hollywood. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool. So like it's funny because like that's the thing that I do really well too is it's the consistency, right? When you have like a thing that has any sort of regularity to it, that's what causes people to want to do it. It's kind of like when I even fake it sometimes. When I'm talking to a girl and I don't really want to bring her to a social circle setting, but I still want to close her, I still want to hook up with her. I'll oftentimes tell her about this regular thing that I'm doing, even if I just came up with it on the spot, right? Because if it's a regular thing, it implies that it's safe because other people have been doing it. Like the after party thing. When you guys bring girls back to your place for an after party, talk about the regular, we do this regular Thursday night after party. Whatever day of the week it is, you do this regular Tuesday night after party, it's fun. Mm-hmm. And then the girl just feels a lot more comfortable going to that thing. Right? There's this regular awesome view in Vegas. It's on 69th floor.
Also even before I had the mansion when I was in LA, like even a month or 2 before I was at Project Hollywood Mansion, I'd be inviting people to mansion after parties or the hills, and I would just roam around the hills and try to find one, just hoping that there'd be a party.
But the thing about that though is because most cities aren't like Vegas. Most cities it closes at 2 a.m. And in the hills, for example, most of those houses are having some party. So it's actually a legitimate technique. I mean, I've done the same thing. You can just walk around and actually find a few parties.
Yeah. I mean, I did that all the time in Wisconsin. That's where I got the idea, because in Wisconsin, when I was there at least, it was the #1 party school in Playboy magazine. And you could literally just go from house to house to house and just walk into houses and have parties. Because people were just, I mean, most college environments are like that. Almost all college towns have that environment.
Yeah, I mean, college game is 99% social circle game, even whether you want to admit it or not, just because that's just, everyone's just contained there, right? How did things change for you, like when you went from throwing the parties in college to then helping out with Xeni and things got a little bit more professional?
So, I mean, getting involved with
And you were, like,
Xeni
closing
didn't
a
really
little bit more
feel
with Xeni,
necessarily professionally.
Yeah.
I was hooking up with girls from Xeni, and it was awesome. But it felt somewhat professionally, but I wasn't like making money off Xeni. I didn't even want to travel just because I was having so much fun. And the guys that were involved with organizing it with me, we started doing trips together, like going to Sundance and all sorts of cool film festivals. And it was just so much fun to organize events. And I had things to invite people to. The cool thing is that it actually kind of turned into more business and other things in the future, because a lot of the people that I've met from Xeni, I've known for like now over a decade. This is like back in the day when I was in my 20s. Now I'm in my 30s and my late 30s. This was like when I was in my early 20s. And I was going hardcore, and it was so much fun. And I met most of my friends actually just at the poker table, just random guys that we were playing poker with. And I'd invite them out. We'd go out to their houses and have parties there, or we'd go out to the clubs. And pretty much I had a basic rule, which was always say yes to everything.
It's a pretty good rule, right?
So, yeah, well, I get invited to like 4 dinners in a night. I would say yes to all 4 of them. I might show up for like 15 minutes or whatever to each one to see which person had the coolest thing going on. And I would just keep doing that.
That's a pretty good. I think there's a Jim Carrey movie based on that or something.
Yeah, there was.
Isn't there?
Yes
Yeah.
Man or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I didn't see it, but that's a very similar concept. Yeah, I mean that's a very good way for a new guy to get into this type of thing, right? Just saying yes to everything, but you got to get invited at first, right? So, did you notice that you just having that container, that thing to invite people to, that in turn just skyrocketed how many things you were actually getting invited to as well?
When I had Project Hollywood Mansion, the only party that I didn't even attend that party actually for the Grammys. I just heard about all the crazy parties that happened afterwards.
At your own house?
At my own house.
You weren't even there, you were doing
I wasn't even there. We had little after parties all the time, but it wasn't like that epic party. But because I was the one to invite all the promoters, they invited me to Xeni's first event, which is this like giant like skyscraper where every single floor was a different party. And there was like 6 to 8 girls to every guy. And it was not just one night, it was all day and all night for 2 days in a row. And at the end, they passed out these flyers that said, hey, you want to attend this on a weekly basis at different venues, different mansions, different movie studios every week. I said, well, I don't care how much this is going to cost me. I'm going to figure out how to afford this, and I'm going to pay for it. And I joined it, got involved, and got so involved, so deeply involved, that I got elected onto the board.
Wow.
Just promoted myself hard and just invited a ton of girls. Tried to become friends with all the cool guys that were there, inviting them out on a regular basis, inviting the girls out on a regular basis.
How long were you part of Xeni for?
About 4 years. Tried not to leave Los Angeles that entire time, except for the holidays. And then after it died, I got more involved with things like Karma, which is the group that you started going to, where there's mansions and Playboy parties.
Yeah, I mean, would you compare? See, a lot of guys don't even understand that, right? Because no Playboy party is ever run by Playboy. No Super Bowl party is ever run by Super Bowl. Yeah. There's no Maxim parties ever run by Maxim. The Maxim parties, I've never met one Maxim employee ever, and I have a staff badge at every Maxim party. And I've never met one Maxim employee, period.
My wife met my family,
At
my
the Playboy,
parents at the Playboy Mansion for the first time.
How did that happen?
That was the party I hosted.
I think a lot of people don't know that. I think that's very fascinating.
Yeah.
So how did that progress from you?
Well, I know
not hosting
Richard
a party
Branson wanted to organize a charity event at the Playboy Mansion with John Paul Joya for their charities. And so I helped organize it. I had this massive Rolodex of girls, and I basically just invited them all. They just didn't want like a party full of like dudes. I said, well, if I'm going to invite all the girls instead of just being a chode fest, it's all guys, I want to be able to invite whoever I wanted. So I said, cool. Let us know like 100 or 200 people that you want to invite. You can bring them to the party.
Wow.
I was like, well, that sounds like a good deal to me.
Yeah.
And so I invited my family, all my good friends. I said they're all really high quality people. So I invited the promoters I knew, and I had all of them promote all their girls. And I basically just invited also all the model agency owners I knew also. And they filled it with hot girls.
That's awesome. I think the funny thing to realize too is like you never have to be that guy. Like I mean, how many of those girls necessarily did you even know? A lot of them you probably didn't even know because
most of them I didn't really know. I mean, I might have met them, but I mean, the thing is, it became a situation where there's probably 4 times as many girls I didn't even meet that would just contact me because the girls would say, "Hey, can I invite my friend?" They'd write me poems. Show me pictures, nude pictures,
Poems.
and yeah, like "Dear Papa Bear," blah blah blah, and then poems. It was fun.
Dear Papa Bear.
Yeah.
That's funny.
They'd write me like love letters. They would send me like videos that they created, and it was kind of cool. Yeah, it was really fun.
It helps the ego. Yeah. That's really interesting. So the Exini parties, right? So did you do parties on your own other than through this external company?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would organize things where we would have mansions in Sundance, and we would have mansions outside of Sundance all over LA, and we would just rent them out. Or sometimes what I would do is I would rent out a hotel suite. So you did something where you rented out the presidential suite of Bellagio.
Well, I didn't rent it out, but yeah, I have a pretty good hotel hookup connection. But yeah.
So I did the
we
same
arranged
thing.
it.
Like the former SOS in Beverly Hills, when I was your age, I was at there was called Meridian, and it was the presidential suite was called.
That's ironic.
Oh yeah, it is Meridian. Yeah. But it was owned by this dude named Sam Nazarian, who ended up turning it into
Nazarian,
SOS. Yeah, so I turned his apartment into a party place. Just rented it out because he was no longer living there. Or we'd have some of my
And
friends
that's
who
the
had
new
houses.
SLS that's down there.
It's now the SOS.
Yeah.
Now it's the place to
super
stay.
popular spot, yeah.
Yeah.
The rooms are tiny.
Now he
but the
has
place
one
is
in
awesome.
Vegas too.
Yeah, he does.
It looks almost exactly the same.
Yeah. He actually got pushed out of it.
Yeah.
Put out of the deal. But that's really interesting. I want you to touch on a little bit the parties that you do, right? Like the renting of the mansions, for example, right? Like you're not personally funding the mansions every time you do these mansion parties. I really want to.
I mean, if I'm throwing a party at a mansion, it's usually like one of my friends owns these mansions throughout the hills. I'm like, hey man, let's have a party here. I can hook you up with some alcohol sponsors. I know a shit ton of girls. I'm gonna invite these girls, and I want you to be cool with that. And he goes, "Fuck yeah, of course I'm cool with that, bro."
That's why you get those kinds of houses, those kinds of condos, because like you're kind of just like I don't know you, but like I'm comfortable in a very small place. Like I don't need this huge lavish kind of thing, right? Unless it's for some sort of
Yeah, I mean
utility.
back then, even when I was in Exini, I was living in a studio apartment. You know, now I have a 10-bedroom house, but I'm married now. It's totally different.
Yeah.
Back then, I was in a really nice studio apartment, but still a studio apartment. I'm renting out mansions, having parties at presidential suites, and just doing all the things that you're doing, actually. But you're doing it on a very, very high level. It is involving pickup and your wingman, wingwoman girl for threesomes and stuff like that. I didn't have a wingwoman back then. That's pretty cool.
Because I want to combine. For me, I want everything to be two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
So I want if I'm gonna go. If I'm going to go cold approach, I better be doing some business networking at the same time. And if I'm going to be doing that, I might as well, have multiple girls at the same time. If I'm going to do that, it just kind of evolves in this whole thing. That's
Well,
kind of
a
my
lot of it is now business related because you can take the same cold approach skills I talk about on my YouTube channel, the Nick Co YouTube channel. I talk about how you could use the same skills in cold approach for business and just build sticky relationships. So kind of like how you go out and you pick up girls and you kind of develop these sticky relationships to pull the girl where you're hooking them into your life. You do the same thing for business, right? Try to get them intrigued.
What are some of the main business social circle games?
Well, I tell them about RSD and I tell them about what we're doing, and they're really intrigued by that. I also talk to them about travel because I have so many different weird random experiences of travel. I'll hook them into like a random similar commonality. I'll find out if they're a business owner, if they're not a business owner. I'll try to find like a passion that they're interested in. Just try to find ways where I can hook them into things.
So strong commonalities.
But I'd have always a backup plan if I don't have any commonalities with people.
So what's that?
Well, usually I'll have things like I invite everyone to a regular monthly dinner party at my house. I'd love to have you attend. This is even before I have a monthly dinner party.
Yeah. I think that's a big key to everybody that does this kind of stuff like you and I is it's kind of like when let's say you start a t-shirt company, right? There's a bunch of people making a lot of money online selling these t-shirts, right? And they test the image of the t-shirt before one shirt's ever actually made. I take the same exact concept and apply it to any sort of event or party that I'm doing. Yeah. Meaning I'll invite all these people to the party well before the party's even planned.
Well, I know how to make it happen. So I'll be like, yeah, this is going to be the coolest party. We have the best chef in the city. We have really cool people that attend. I know I'm going to make it happen.
Maybe before you even actually ask the chef.
Exactly.
Right.
And I mean, I even did that when we created our first RSD program. When we first created the first RSD program, we didn't even know what we were going to teach. We just knew that Tyler was really good at picking up girls. I was really good at organizing shit. And we just knew that whatever we did, it was just going to be cool. So you just got to know you have that skill set. So I had that skill set. It's combined organizing and the partying and the business.
So when you do the business thing, so the business thing, right? So what are a couple of ways that you actually apply the same, almost literally verbatim, the pickup concepts to the business?
A lot of it has to do with sales, for example. Developing relationships with a lot of people. offering value, hooking them into your life. So I mean, in terms of like business and sales, we have the free YouTube videos, we have the conversation, we record walk-ups to random people at conventions and exchange information. For me now, I'm trying to interview people for my YouTube channel, where I'll invite people to connect with other people. So I'll try to find out who they're interested in connecting with and try to say, hey, you know what, instead of this party, I know all these really interesting people that might be able to really help you out with what you're doing. I'd love to share them with you. And also I'd love to grab a bite to eat, find out a little bit more about how I can help you, what you're doing. That's really cool. I think we just have a good time also. We'll play some golf, I'll introduce you to my wife, we'll have some fun. I mean, this is the same kind of things I was doing even socially, because when I was, even before like a successful business guy, I was inviting guys and girls to hang out. I was like, hey man, it's really cool that you're into poker. I heard about all these really cool like private games you could go to. Also, I'm always going out to the bars and clubs. I have access to the hottest clubs and a lot of knowledge about all the cool promoters. I know a ton of girls we should all roll with. And I know a bunch of cool guys we could roll with as well. And this is while I'm developing that. I don't necessarily have deep relationships with all these people, but it's kind of general enough that there's enough value that they want to stay a part of it. It's not a big like we know each other for a very long time.
I think that's a big thing to understand though, because I feel like a lot of guys think that they, if they're gonna make those introductions, that they have to know the people deeply. But you have to lower your expectations a little bit of what's actually going to happen, of how well you know these people. If I vaguely know a guy's name and I meet somebody else who wants to meet that person, that's my best friend. That's the person that's amazing. I build him up. So then when I actually make that connection, it's very solid. And at that point, the relationship kind of unfolds anyway, right?
Yeah, you just develop that relationship between the time you need to have it to be a certain way and the time that you need that introduction. And I think it's kind of cool that what you do is you organize these events and you hype it up as like the coolest thing, and it actually becomes the coolest thing because you're so excited about it, and everyone else is so excited about it. And I think that's another principle that people need.
That's the magic though. That's really the magic, because I'll like, okay, so like I organize these like table bottle service events a lot, right? Where we get a bunch of girls with the girls, then we get all these comp bottles, and because we do it regularly, we get like 3-4 times as much, and it's just it's the hoopla, it's the craziness. I did a thing where I basically had a situation happen at a pool party once where I had a bigger entrance than Floyd Mayweather, right? And what happened was, they had the whole sparklers and the bottle, the bottles of champagne and that whole deal. And they walked with the girls, they put them on the girls, put one girl on the guy's shoulders and walked them into a whole thing. Well, he went into the venue. I almost did it twice. I almost did it again a couple weeks ago, but I was doing something else at the time and couldn't do it. But when I originally did this, I looked over at a friend of mine who works at Wet Republic, the hottest pool in town, right? And I looked at her, I was like, you can't just sell people on these ideas, you kind of have to prompt it, right? So I look at her, I go, hey, it'd be pretty funny. How funny would it be if I had a bottle presentation crazier than Floyd's? And then everyone was just like, what the fuck's happening? That'd be crazy, right? Rather than like asking her to do it. And she was like, oh, that'd be nuts. We should do that. And I go, no, we can't. That would be silly. Because I had a comp table, like a really shitty table, but right next to where Floyd's huge cabana was. And I was like, no, we can't. And then I look at her, I go, but can we? And she's like, yeah, sure. So I go, what if we just just did twice as many sparklers on the bottles? The sparklers cost nothing. So she was like, I think we can do that. And I'm like, what if you just get like a few more cocktail waitresses? Because usually they only bring like 4 or 5 to go on the shoulders and do the whole bottle presentation. I was like, well, what if you get double that? Like, what if you just grab a couple girls when like it's a little bit slow and the girls aren't needed over there and just come? So I had twice as many cocktail waitresses come out with all the bottle presentations. And then I literally said, hey, can I get a couple bottles to spray when they make the introduction? And she's like, yeah, of course. Here. She'll give me like $5 bottles of champagne, like super cheap. And then she said, and she knew the DJ at the time. So then she was like, why don't we announce you as well? So I'm getting escorted to my table, and a couple of these guys have seen it. Like every time we go to Light, the whole thing happens where at this point now it says, welcome RSD Luke and Immersion on the LCD screen. Everybody, like the music stops for a second to actually make the announcement. But all that stuff just costs nothing. It's just a little bit of gregariousness, ingenuity to make that happen. But once you do that, I have an open to close infield where that's the only game I did, and then I sat down and I said 3 sentences to a girl, and I pulled her from she was at their table, and she just came over because of all of our craziness that was happening. And it was another situation where like the cost was minimal. It was like tipping for all this stuff, right? It was like $100 just to have this crazy setup. And she just saw that, immediately came over and approached me. I said, if you count the words that I say in the infield, it's 3 sentences. And I pulled her back to my place. Well, it wasn't my place. I pulled her back to the condo. It was pretty funny. And she had an odd situation though. This girl, it was just fascinating because all of the social circle stuff and the status building, that built all the attraction. I had no non-neediness, I had no entitlement, all the stuff that people try to do that are really good personal characteristics. I didn't display any of it. I had terrible body language. I was just sitting there. I was kind of annoyed. I was a bit disgruntled that night. I just kind of was in a bad mood. I just sat up on the table area, sat there, and then I was like kind of in my own little world. And then she came up, and 3 sentences later, I'm pulling her. Right, just because of all the status that you build. And it's kind of like with your Xeni parties, you don't really have, like the game becomes very logical and very simple when you're just trying to organize this thing. At a certain point, you're talking to girls just to kind of introduce them to each other. You don't even have to put any pressure on yourself of gaming them up. It's just, well, hey, have you met this person? Have you met this person? And then when they meet each other, they're actually gaming themselves instead of you having to do all that work, right?
Yeah, especially since a lot of girls who come to LA or Vegas, they're kind of new to the city, especially if they come a local. So they'll ask me, hey, can you introduce me to some models or other hot girls I can start rolling with? And I would do that and help them out. And they would also invite me to meet other people as well. And it's kind of cool. Like guys who could help me like business-wise or what have you.
Yeah.
And it was fun. Or just cool people in general that introduce me to other girls. And it's kind of a way that you just build your soul circle, but just using the leverage that you develop through this connection. I think also, back then, you didn't have as many cool technologies. I mean, you guys have so many cool like things like Snapchat and all these social media, but back then I think Facebook was just starting to get developed.
You were still on Friendster.
Yeah, Friendster and MySpace, and now it's like a music channel. And so in order for me to actually manage my social network back then, I had to like use my BlackBerry phone and just like type like
What's
notes.
What's the one with the stylus, the Palm Trio?
Yeah, I had one of those too.
Yeah, that's funny.
So in order to like manage them, I'd have to add to their name like Sarah, cocktail waitress / model actress, and then the name of the bar I met her, like whatever lounge. And that's how I'd manage things. Or maybe we added LA to it, or New NYC.
How many of you guys have a notepad file of people that you meet? Like especially like door guys and whatnot, so you know who they are. Anybody? Yeah, like I have an extensive notepad where in my phone where it's just like I just scroll through it. Actually, it's in LA
I used to
right
have
now,
that also in a Sony Clie.
Yeah.
I used to have a notepad file where you could write onto it. So I mean, when I got girls' numbers, like even like Paris Hilton's number, I had to write down with a stylus back then on the piece on the like tablet-looking thing.
That's funny. How did that happen?
Sony
What's that
Clie.
story?
Oh, I just walked up to her when she was at a taco stand.
Wait, was it Paquito Moss?
Paquito Moss.
Shut up.
Yeah, you've been there?
100 times, yeah. That's right by your old mansion.
Yeah, I walked up to there and people were like, "Oh, Paris Hilton's here." I was just like, "I don't know who Paris Hilton is."
You didn't know all this.
No. But they're like, "Wow, someone should approach her." I'm like, "Well, cool." And then I just walked up to her, approached her, invited her to, I just took her attention. "Hey, I bet I could tell you something about you that nobody else knows about you just by asking 3 questions. Come over here for a second." And she sat down with me. We started having
Old
lunch
school
together.
classic stuff.
Yeah, just false time and straight, hooked her, and then I did this visualization thing called the cube on her, where you like imagine.
Well, now everyone knows about the cube because of the BuzzFeed.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you see the BuzzFeed that came out about it?
No, what's that?
Yeah, anybody see that? Just a few weeks ago, BuzzFeed came out with this new psychological technique. All the POAs thought it was pretty funny because it's been popular for a long time, but it got like 40 million views or something because everyone. And then the cube started to have a more traction. All of a sudden, it was kind of funny, but
yeah. And then for me, like even getting all this contact information, I actually created a discussion board where I was the only member. Where I just created this threads by city, and then wrote. In each of the threads
really
and
clever,
forums,
yeah.
who I met, a little bit of information about them, kind of like organize my own field reports and what have you. So Paris joined Xeni, so I ended up seeing Paris like every single weekend for like months.
well, so you would have probably met her regardless anyway. Even if
Well, I joined Xeni like after I got in the house. I met her before I had a house.
got it.
I was like, I'm moving into a hotel. She's like, which hotel? I'm like, oh, this hotel that doesn't exist anymore. But it was before I had the house. And she joined the club, and we were cool until the book came out.
Wait, were you just at Paquito? Wait, so you didn't have the house, but you just happened to be at Paquito Moss?
Yeah, well, I was looking
That's
at
the
the
only
house.
reason why. Okay, that's why.
I was looking at the house. I was looking at the house, and by coincidence, we just saw the house. Like 5 minutes after we got a tour of the house before we rented it, we went down to get to Paquito Moss.
Because I used to.
With my real estate agent.
So when I would stay,
He was there too.
It's just so funny when I would stay at the house that you guys lived in. I would walk down and eat Paquito Moss, then walk back up the house. It's better than Mel's Diner. Yeah. Stop doing that stupid
I
place.
go to Mel's all the time also.
Yeah. So that's interesting. What are a couple more? Okay, so I have one big thing I find that a lot of guys find very interesting, right? Is So the high status guys that you meet, I feel like guys, this is something that they actually struggle with, but they find very interesting. How do you meet guys that are of actual value that you'd want to hang out with? Because I know it sounds kind of silly, but
No, that's a good point, because I think you and I both do this. Because I spend, well, not anymore, but I used to spend so much of my life, at least 20 hours every week, just looking cool events to go to. Awesome, epic clubs to be a part of. Usually like social clubs or business clubs, but usually social clubs. Social clubs that are very elitist or have a difficulty to get into, not necessarily nightclubs, but
like
actually
Xeni
people
or
who gather. Yeah, things like Xeni or Karma, or like now there's like all these like private like Facebook groups or public Facebook groups where people could join, or social networks.
Yeah,
I was
one of the first people. For example, I was one of the first people to join a Small World.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So I was one of the first people to join a Small World, and back then that was one of the hottest social networks to join.
For about 18 months, elite. It was amazing. It was
totally awesome.
I met
every single person who was a member was really cool.
It was literally the social network. Have you guys heard of it before? A Small World. Yeah, it was literally a Facebook for rich people and celebrities, is what they deemed themselves as.
Yeah.
And for a long time, it was legitimate.
So we traveled to Italy, and we met the VIP host for the Billionaires Club, which is this private club where it's usually like $3,000 per person to get in. And Tyler, me, and 6 other people, we had this thing called the RZ Executive Retreat. We went to Sardinia and Porto Cervo. We're down this billionaire club, and we were able to hang out there, get access, and we got access to all the clubs in the island.
Was that through a Small World that you
and
made
that
the
was
connection?
through the VIP host from Small World that I got to meet. And the same thing from when I went to the south of France. I got introduced to people, and it was really cool. And people have these little clubs and organizations you can join to, in not just LA, not just Vegas, but like in every city. So I went down to New York, and there's a club called Carbon in Attica, and I would just contact the presidents and meet them. Usually require like referrals, but I know that once they could meet me, I'll just talk to them, and you don't have to get referrals.
I think a lot of guys don't understand, that's why I say 9 and 10 game is social circle game. Like, it's synonymous with each other.
Yes, have the confidence to reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love to talk to the president of the company about some really cool stuff I think that's going to help them. Been in the industry, did all these cool things, and then you befriend a guy, take him out. He goes, oh yeah, I'd love to have you be a part of my club. I think that usually private elite clubs, social clubs, usually require 2-3 referrals, and I didn't have any for any of these things.
So what are a couple of those to make it a little bit less verbose for guys, what are some tangible things that you could offer that guy rather than just coming up to him and just randomly saying it, right? Because what guys don't understand too is to be a part of these social clubs, like guys don't understand, like almost every 8 or above that I've ever hooked up with was through a situation like Karma or other private social club. It wasn't at nightclubs, because those girls fill their schedule with events and parties anyway. They don't have time to go to the clubs a lot of times, so they're doing these events.
Well, I talked about, first of all, like the elite parties and organizations and cool things that I have access to.
You edify yourself first.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, when I'm talking about some of the elite parties I used to go to, I would just get fucking flyers and just say, hey, this awesome party, Jay-Z's going to be there, blah, blah. And Hollywood sells the shit out of every fucking nightclub party.
It's always 100
This is a random
better,
night.
Yeah.
Seems like here, like, oh, fucking Tiesto is having an awesome party here at the club fucking every night. But the thing is, you say, I have access to these kind of things in LA or
once in a lifetime. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be a total red carpet event kind of thing without the red carpet, but it's like the thing you should go to. And I know the people that are involved with that. In fact, I have a group going there of like the most awesome people that I love to introduce you to. Really hot girls, really cool guys. It'd be really cool to have it there. I also organize my own dinner parties. Just cool casual things. I love like small social circles.
So how important is it to hype it up though, right?
There's 2 things.
Because I see a lot of guys don't hype it up nearly enough.
Yeah, I think that hyping is cool. But also, at the same time, some people don't like the hype because they do it themselves so much. Just like, hey, I have this really cool, intimate group of people that are really, really awesome people. There's really good people that I'd love to have you be a part of it. I think you're a great guy. And it's a little cool gathering. We just have like lunch every like Sunday at this really awesome restaurant that has like this really special degustation or like tasting that you could do. And when they don't have it, we actually create our own because the special items on the menu that aren't even on the menu. Just little things that that are creative and cool. Those are kind of things that really pump things up.
So just thinking outside the box, right?
Yeah, even the fact that that Jamba Juice has a special hidden menu. Just taking people there, like, hey, I'd like to get this thing. I know some secrets about anything.
Does Jamba Juice have a secret menu?
They do have a secret
I did
menu.
not know that.
So does what's that double place?
Yeah, In-N-Out.
In-N-Out.
Yeah, they got extensive.
And so does almost every Japanese restaurant. If you ask for the omakase meal, they have a tasting, where it's a meal for chefs of other Japanese restaurants. You just ask for that.
So that's one thing that's helped me a lot, is this whole idea of like a flight or a tasting menu, because a lot of it's silly to kind of necessarily just ask a bunch of random people to like go to a dinner. Sometimes a lot of guys are uncomfortable doing that because it's a kind of an odd atmosphere for them. But if you make a dinner an event, everyone's going to eat anyway, and if they're high status people, they're eating at decent places, right?
That's what I like best for elite dating, the degustation. Because instead of 1 hour at fucking TGIF, I have at least 3 hours over at least 8 different alcohols and 8 different like little mini entrees, and it's like an experience where the chef person will come out and introduce themselves to you, and yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, but it's not that much more for the value you're getting out of it.
Yeah, it's oddly not that much more to actually have a chef come out and explain the dishes.
I'll even ask for a tasting.
Girls go crazy for that. You barely have to do any work after that.
Even when restaurants don't offer tastings, I'll request it because usually they'll be cool, or I'll create my own.
That's like that's the gregariousness of it, right? If you don't even see a flight or a tasting on the menu, but you want to invite a big group of people to something, and you just ask them to create it themselves.
Or I'll just be like,
what's the phrasing of that? How does that happen?
Well, sometimes I'll just look at the menu and I'll be like, fuck, I don't want to look at this. Give me one of every appetizer that's on the menu, and give me like, 10 different little half, glasses of every martini that you could possibly think of. Or just surprise me with as much mixture and variety as you can. I used to do that all the time for group parties because it was kind of different and fun. Like everyone just ordering a meal. And it's like a typical boring kind of thing. Where it's cool. You got to meet with each other.
At that point.
But yeah, but it's a little bit different, a little bit more unique than they would typically experience. Something more creative. Just by adding creativity, I think it also shows that you're thinking outside the box, and people want to be around that kind of thing. People want to be broken out of the mundane. I know that when I ask my wife, and I think most people think like this. I know I thought like this. What's the biggest thing that you fear? And I think that a lot of people fear just having a boring, average, mundane life. And so
that's pretty deep. That's going very deep.
Yeah.
Right? This whole the boring I mean, I think there's a lot of people in the world that are afraid of having this just. I mean, I might be so afraid of having a boring, mundane life that I take it to the extreme, and I don't know how to have a boring day.
Now it's trying to simplify your life so you can be a little bit more normalized.
Exactly.
I felt like that for a very long time, especially in the last few years, man. Just want to get my life as simple as possible.
Less media as possible. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So, especially that.
Let me ask you this. So this is because I don't think you talk about too much. I think at some point, every guy faces like at a certain point you're the popular guy, right? You are, because it's funny that I'm doing all these Maxim parties now, because Maxim started me into pickup, because I saw this article where it was like, I think Maxim coined this phrase. It was, you not only do you want to be the guy that every girl wants, but you want to be the guy that every guy wants to be, right? And that sunk in with me, and that's why I did this whole social circle thing in the first place, because I was like, my cold approach, for me, game was same night lays. How many same night lays? How many girls can I rack up? Like once I would start fucking like 4 to 6 girls a week, that's when I started realizing like, okay, cool, this is better than I ever thought. Like about the 9-month period in game, I was better than my original goal was to actually be content with game. Does that make sense? So then I was like, that's cool, but I feel like the exact same guy. Like nothing mentally really changed. I just had all these tools that allowed me to hook up with these girls. Whereas with the social circle stuff, that actually made me a happier person. It made me way more content to know that every morning I look at my phone, I have all these invites to all these different things, right?
Yeah, I was able to hook up with a countless number of girls, but I do think that developing yourself as like an overall awesome person with a support group, social circle, cool business life, having a shit together, it's totally different than pure sex as a chase.
Yeah, you definitely had like a period of time that were like.
I did have that. The game was the only thing I cared about.
Yeah. So
I loved the game. That was the first thing I said every time I went out to a bar or club. Just being in there was like an amphibian entering the pond, about to turn into a frog, and I just said out loud, "I love the game," and it's just like emotion just rush.
You would actually say that when you walk in?
Yeah. And you know how people do like the 30-day challenge? Tyler and I did the 1,000-day challenge. 3 years in a row, we went out every night. And it was so much fun. And we didn't care about making money or building RSD. It just turned into that way because after we funded our lifestyle, in order to keep it going, we had to hire people. And I just didn't want to let people down that were loyal to RSD and loyal to us. And then we just couldn't back out.
And here we are.
Yeah, now here we are. I'm still here. My goal was to build a really fun lifestyle in Hollywood while I was in school, and then go to New York, become an investment banker. That did not happen. I think I have a more fun lifestyle now, but it was.
And your parents are more proud of this than they would have.
Maybe. They're cool. They're Asians. They're like, if it's making money, and they're happy.
There you go. That's a good point, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about the closing part of it, right? Because I think it's something that, like, at this point, obviously, you're not as exactly focused on closing out of your social circle, right, within your current lifestyle. But when you did, I think a lot of guys, they build that lifestyle up, and then they feel like they just have all these friends when that was their biggest fear in the first place, right? So what are your techniques in actually getting these girls to turn it romantically?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that you just end your night one-on-one with that girl in your place. And once you're there, it's a lot easier. You're just kind of set.
Exactly, and people don't understand that because everybody wants to learn these like sexual escalation techniques or Kino or all of this, but I think a lot of guys miss the point that if you're just alone with a girl at 3:30 a.m., 4 a.m., what are the chances something's going to happen? It's almost, I mean, for me, it's 100%, right? For most guys, it's about 75 that I found. Even if your game is terrible,
Yeah,
it's
even
like
if you're
50-50.
not alone, even if you have a wingman, you have two girls, you're still able to do that. But you're just in a place where you guys can be comfortable hooking up. And that would happen all the time. It happens to you all the time, too.
I mean, that's like huge. I mean, almost all of the fundamentals of my game force that situation where I'm just going to be alone with one or more girls at 3 a.m. And then I'm just going to close the deal at that point.
Yeah, hook them to like having a great view or having like a special drink or having you want to show them something. Hey, I have a great surprise for you. You hype it up. You don't even need to hype it up, though. I mean, you just start talking, just keep walking until you get to your place. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It has to be, some guys don't understand. It's got to be something, though.
Yeah, something as opposed to nothing. It can't be like, well, I guess I have nothing to say, nothing else to do. I ran out of things to talk about, so I guess the night's over. There's a lot of guys run into their problem. They always run out of things to say.
So what do you think about the sexuality or escalation in social circle settings?
Well, I think that in public, when you're with other people, you could do it. You don't have to like be like in a private situation. Most of my friends, when they're still hooking up with girls, there's no shame in hooking up or making out with your in your social circle. I've seen no problem with that. I mean, I know people are concerned if it's like a work social circle. That's definitely a concern because now you have your livelihood on the line. But I don't think there's a problem when you're in a social circle at all. I think that it's totally natural. People would actually expect it eventually.
I think PUAs think that that's awkward to potentially try to hook up within their social circle. But what they fail to understand is that's how society is just doing it.
One of the things I would try to do is like almost every single week I would be trying to use the social circle to hook up with girls. So I'd be texting girls that maybe didn't even respond to like a party invite for years. Like I invited one girl to a party at Xeni 3 years in a row. She didn't even text me back. And then suddenly she shows up and then I invite her to dinner and we start dating. And you never know when these things could be converted or convert over. So that's one of the cool advantages of having like all sorts of cool things going on all the time.
And the best thing about the best thing about social game in general is this container. It just creates this almost business or machine that is operating whether you are trying to do it or not. So if you're inviting, it doesn't take that much effort to invite a girl. I'll invite girls to parties that I know I'm not even going to be at, right? To kind of create the situation as mentioned.
I've done that too, but I think that's better if you're there.
It's better if you're there, but I like to invite. I use that technique when I know the girl can't go either. So I'll invite girls who I know have some other epic thing. Like we have this thing in Jamaica. So I'm supposed to be in Jamaica in a week. There's about 50 girls that think I'm going to be in Jamaica for the next week. And there was a 50-50 chance that I was going to like make my schedule and make it so I could be there. But it's 50 girls who are going to be in. I think it's called Negril. Is what they call it? Negril. And the hotel is called Hedonistic. So imagine what kind of hotel it is when it's called Hedonistic.
Hedonism.
Yeah, that's literally the name, the brand, right?
1 and 2, the swinger clubs.
Yeah, and they have a hotel there.
Yeah.
And it's called the
Only resorts.
Yeah, it's called a Paradise Challenge where everyone's nude, right? All the girls are nude, right? And you don't want to see these photographers nude. So there's all these girls that are just nude for a week, having their photos taken and do this whole production. And I sent a couple ex-immersion guys there. To just basically be in this resort that's called Hedonistic, to just fuck their way through this whole thing. And I invited a lot of girls to it as well. I told them all that I was going to, I told all these girls, the guys know I'm not gonna be there, but all these girls think that I'm gonna show up and we're all gonna party together. But I just wanted to party with these ex-students of mine, so that they all just have a good time. For me, it was like 50-50 if I could even show up. But I know that they're gonna have fun doing it. A lot of the girls that I invited couldn't spend a week in Jamaica and do this whole production, right? But it's something cool that they know. In their mind, I'm doing something.
Because you're the one who hosted it.
Exactly.
I have the same thing going on next month where I have a few dozen people that are now going to Cuba. I organized this. I invited the CEO of a really popular company that everyone knows.
Publishing company, right?
Yeah. And then I also invited some video people that now they owe me. And they have this like awesome organized trip in Cuba, and I'm not even going. But yeah,
You can't go or something, right?
I was going to go, but then my wife saw the Zika risk, the Zika virus risk was so high, and we were thinking about having kids, so we didn't want to get involved with that. Yeah, but I mean, they appreciate it big time, and every single one of those people feel like they owe me, which is kind of cool. Like, these are really important people. I think.
I mean, it's a classic example of value arbitrage, where you're literally arbitraging the whole thing. I mean, so much of this stuff comes down to just using external resources and exchanging them together, and then creating something tangible for yourself out of it.
Yeah, out of that, now I have lined up some interviews for my channel with some amazing business people, because my channel is mostly about sharing business tactics, and I also got some free video editing out of it from 2 people that are now doing video production for my channel to help me have more time to get more backlog done faster, easier.
That's sweet.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Really cool.
I love hearing about the origins of the RSD stuff, because I think it's kind of fascinating that nobody really. I mean, you talk about in Founders Club a little bit, right? But how much of Founders Club is about the origins of RSD?
I was
just a little section, or-
1/6 of it.
1/6 of it.
Yeah, there's like 6 modules, and one of them is behind the scenes in RSD.
And you talk about the whole deal.
Talk about like the whole deal from my point of view. Talk about business, networking, relationships, mindsets that I have. 'Cause I have very extreme views.
You do have extreme views, you said.
Very, very extreme views.
Like, what are a couple of the concepts for those of them that haven't seen
I mean,
that?
most people
What are some
that,
extreme views?
well, if you follow RSD, you'll follow guys like Tyler. Most of his knowledge is from books. And I read a lot of books. I mean, really, I've been deep in formal education. Did 2 MBA programs, now I'm studying law at Harvard. Did undergraduate, a postdoc at Cornell. And I've been literally like well over $1 million just going to seminars over my career just outside of it, continuing education. So I'm really into like the formal education thing, yet the thing that I feel like I get a lot of influence from is outside of my family, that is from movies, and usually action and mafia movies. So a lot of my belief systems have to do with like loyalty above all else, doing whatever it takes, retaliate when you need to, take things to the extreme and business-wise. Can you
give a couple for instances?
For instances? Sure, I can give you instances. I mean...
Especially, what was the retaliate?
Well, that's one of the things that... I don't know how good that will sound on video.
So what's something that you are willing to say on video? What are some of the for instances of the other things?
But I mean, for example, I had a guy who robbed my house. He was a close friend of mine. You know, when he was a friend to my wife. He stole my wife's diamond wedding band, a $65,000 diamond ring. This guy I invited to live at my house, treated him like family, invited his family to stay at my house, and they did stay at my house. So a lot of people...
Well, not just him, his family as well.
Yeah, he treated the guy like family. And then I found out a year later he was the one who stole it. I show up at a charity gala hosted by my friend Tony Shea. Well, he's a sponsor. It was for Cirque du Soleil. And he was there dating a girl he met off Tinder. Cirque du Soleil model, beautiful girl. And he convinced her he was like some kind of baller. He gave her this ring just because he's so damn rich. He said he had a private jet company because you could create an affiliate account, which anyone could do to sell private jets on the internet.
I have one.
Yeah, you could do that. You could be saying, "Oh, I'm an affiliate for Amazon,"
and they'll privately label the whole thing.
Like, wow, you're an Amazon affiliate. That's amazing.
You know? So that was the shtick. He was
that was his shtick. And I saw this girl. I walked up to her and I was like, "Wow, that's a really unique and interesting ring." And my wife had the exact same ring. Let me see that ring.
But you had a feeling that it was, because it was stolen, right? So you had a feeling it was the same, or no?
Well, I mean, I knew it was I knew that it was very, very unique because most people don't buy $65,000 17 karat diamond rings. It's like, it doesn't make any sense, right? So this is like that ring. So I saw it. When I found out it was him, I hired a law firm and some off-duty cops or former cops to go to this girl's place and get the ring back and showed her evidence. Now, a lot of people would just give up there because they're like, there. It was like, well,
wasn't it a bit of a shtick, though? Was that thing?
Yeah, now I have to punish him, so...
So this is the extreme business concept you learned from the movies.
Now, this is not a view of RSD. This is just my own personal views, and this is something I just need to say because it's an extreme view. Right, I just have extreme views that don't represent RSD. And so what I did is I contacted the CEO of a private military and one of the directors involved in management for this very federal national intelligence organization for America, and we organized a sting operation where we had a team of people outside his house and we recorded him confessing after we got her parents in town and whatever, and mapped it out. And then I flew down to visit his parents and played the confession to him. And then I flew down to California and played it for his sister. And then I said I need to get paid and be compensated for all this. And I asked for 6 figures and to cover the cost of my attorney fees and everything else. And my attorneys then helped me organize a situation where he went to his bosses in his job in California and then show that he stole the ring. And now we're gonna, tell all of his friends, because we also downloaded all of his Facebook, Twitter, social media contacts, and we're gonna share a copy of the confession with all of them. We also got a list of his entire family. And we'd love to share the story. And I have interviews lined up with the media. And they'd love interviewing me. Everyone loves interviewing me. I can't get them to stop. But the thing is, I think most people would just stopped. But the thing is, I think in the mafia movies, I think one of the things that inspired me is you got to make an example so people realize that they can't just rob you. It doesn't make any sense. You got to show that you have boundaries. And then I know in the Blueprint Decoded, they talk about you should establish boundaries with women, how you will not allow people to tolerate or treat you in a bad way. I've had many other similar situations, just as equal in extremity, if not more, and I can't talk about them.
That's funny. That's awesome. What's the time?
All of them totally legal.
All legal and none of them represent Real Social Dynamics Incorporated. These views are only expressed by Nicholas Coe.
For entertainment purposes only. It's not like...
What time is it? 20%, cool. Do you want to do a quick Q&A and then we can wrap it up?
Yeah, I'd love to do Q&A.
I think everyone should come up with at least one question each, because you don't really get to talk to Nick too often, right? He knows more about RSD than literally anybody. And then I suppose it would be Tyler next, right? Because this whole, from the way Owen talks about it, from many spa conversations I have with Owen, it's very much you kind of pushing him to do these boot camps to fund the travel to just pick up more girls at the beginning, right? So it was you really
back in the day. That's what was going on.
It was like you were like the.
It was tough. I was always very, very angry. There's a lot of times where I was yelling a lot because all he did for the first 2 years or more in business, probably 4 years in business, was pick up girls and then talk about how he was picking up all these girls. Where I was doing the same thing, going out, but I was actually working during the day so hard, there'd be times where I would just lie back on my bed with my clothes and shoes still on, because I was working, building infrastructure and creating a system and delegating that job into a role and giving it to someone else and keep replicating that until it became an automated spinning business. Enough to had some time to actually have a dating life for a few years without having to work all day normal
like
business
a normal
startup person.
Yeah. Cool. So, what questions do you guys have for him? You got first?
Yeah, if you're starting from scratch, say you're living in Stockholm, Sweden.
Hypothetically,
or Gothenburg could be. What would be a good entry to if you want to start hosting, for example, smaller parties and getting a party social circle going?
Well, one of the things that I used to do all the time was organize my own pub crawls. And you could do that around the Studapon, or you could do it all over Gothenburg. There's small pubs everywhere. I was talking earlier about the Sunday Fun Day concept, but I love the idea of just going from venues. That's why I'm addicted to it. So you send me to a city like Tel Aviv or New York, I'm not going to stay all night at one club. I'm bouncing from club to club to club, and it keeps people interested. So I'll grab my whole crew, and we'll just say, at the top of every hour, we'll hit up a new club or something fun like that, or try to find something unique. The other thing, though, is I like building social clubs myself. So my skill set's in coordinating and organizing more than anything else. I'm really great at organizing people together and making things happen. So I took that into my social circle, and I created a seminar at Summit. It was called How to Be the CEO of Your Own Social Circle and Treat It Like a Business. And I really did treat it like that, where I had my own teams and everything in order to build it. The marketing, or people that were helping me text people, get people together. I had the finance, getting sponsors or using some of my own money, because I did invest a lot of my own money, even to the point of going into debt, because I didn't really care about money. I cared about hooking up with girls and building a soul circle more than I cared about money. So I didn't even care about business. Back then, the whole idea of being an organizer wasn't for a business, it's the business to fund the ability to get more girls. That was the whole point of why we created RSD. Now, in terms of say Sweden, I think that it's awesome because you have so much entertainment. It's a major metropolitan city. That's why RSD tries to go to every major metropolitan city, because you have everything. You have like going.com, you have meetup.com, you have Facebook groups, Eventbrite groups, and so many different places where you can just meet people. But what I like to do, just to cover my butt, is always invite a ton of people, way more people than I know who could attend. I would always try to expect a 10% ratio showing up. Now, of course, if you invite your close friends, you'd expect like 80, 90% ratio, but I'm inviting mass numbers of people. So if I invite 100 people just to go out to a regular bar, I'd expect 10 people to show up, because it's not like an event at your home where it's a special thing. If it's like a special dinner party or a special event, you're gonna expect a lot higher ratio. Like if I invite someone to the Playboy Mansion, I expect that ratio to be the vast majority of people saying yes. In fact, I expect like 4 times more people to want to go than not. But if it's just say like, hey, I want to go to a bar or a club, and you're inviting people out like every night, then you're going to get like 10% of those people showing up. Because that's what I was doing. I was doing it like every night. You don't have to go to that extreme, but I'm very, very extreme in pretty much everything I do.
I actually own a business, and I'm getting really hyperly focused on building systems and stuff. If you were me, what would be the first baby step you would take towards building a business network?
Business network internally or externally?
Externally.
Externally.
I just can't, I'm so focused that I kind of don't pay attention to my friends and stuff that are in business.
Well, the first thing you to build that external network, then you should get more free time by getting some interns underneath you. You get some non-paid interns super easy on almost any website. I've gotten them from Craigslist, got them from RSD, I've gotten them through Going, Meetup, Facebook. I just invited random friends to friends, just got them involved, and that's how we built RSD. You know, a network of 1,000 volunteers is hooking. I think that most of Vegas immersion staff are interns, and we were always recruiting more of them. We have like a website called rsdemployment.com, which is almost all non-paid interns. But I mean, in terms of like a business network, I got involved with really powerful business networks. I just discovered them randomly, just going networking and partying with people that looked like they're really successful. And I was asking the same question you just asked me. So I found out about a club called the Entrepreneurs Organization. And if you're doing over $250,000, they have an accelerator to get you over $1 million. And once you're doing over 10 million or 15 million, you can join YPO. And then once you get involved with their accelerator programs, there's like WPO. And then there's other sorts of cool clubs, just like this club called Vistage, and there's these meetup groups that are involved in business. But I love these formal organizations. The clubs that I talked about are the clubs that I got involved with, because those clubs are kind of like formally organized. I know that every CEO from like Tony Robbins to everyone I've ever heard of are involved with one of these organizations somehow, or they create your own mastermind groups. A lot of my friends, they created their own business mastermind groups. They just network with other successful business people, and they'll just like interview them over lunches and dinners and just treat them. I mean, when I was 16, I wanted to find out what I wanted to do for a living. I just went, back then we had the Yellow Pages. We had the Yellow Pages phone book. It was actually delivered to our door. You didn't have Google. So I would look up things like inventors or corporate attorneys or investment bankers. And I would just contact the presidents of the companies or the executives of their companies if the presidents wouldn't answer, and say, hey, I'd love to find out more about what you're doing. I'd love to learn. I'm a student. I'm thinking about having your job. I've been treating people out to really nice dinners. I know that the best restaurant in town is this place here. I haven't tried it out yet, but I'd love to experience it with you. I'd love to hang out with you. And even today, like I called this company that does crowdcasting called Circus. Now, this is a cool concept actually for Soul Circle guys as well. So I met up with the president of the Harvard Club of Vegas. He told me about this app. By total coincidence, like 2 weeks later, I had lunch with one of the main investors in Atari, Howard Marks, also the main investor in Call of Duty. He also told me about this app. So today, I decided to contact the app, because last night I downloaded it like in the middle of the night, and today I contacted the app and I said, you know what, I'd love to crowd host this thing here. It says that you guys will pay people to go to parties or events. And I'm curious about how I could do that for my company. And so they got the sales rep on the phone, and it's a really small, it's a startup. Like most startups, the president of the company will get on sales calls as well. So the president of the company got on the call with me as well. I mean, startup has like 5 people, but it's been invested in by all these VCs and what have you. So he said, you know what, I said, you know what, I'd love to hang out with you. Here's all the cool things going on in my life. And I've spent a long time traveling and meeting all sorts of really interesting people. I bet I could introduce you to some really cool people. Why don't you come over to my house? And now I have a meeting with him this weekend. And for those of you guys who are curious, it's SURKUS, and they'll actually pay you to go to parties at elite nightclubs based on your Facebook profile if you're like an influencer. You have a lot of hot girls in your group or no other cool guys or what have you.
It's an awesome concept.
Yeah, it's a really cool concept. But these are the kind of things that I do all the time. It's not just with like this today. I mean, like, you know, even before. I mean today, because a clear example of just a random day. But today I was like, yeah, I called him back to my buddy Larry. I'm like, hey, dude, can you introduce me to this guy Michael Milliken? He's the inspiration movie Wall Street. I hear he's going to play golf at this club, and I hear you're going there at the same time he's going to be there. And I know Wayne Gretzky.
Milken, like the junk bond Milken?
Yeah, Junk Bond Milliken.
Wow.
Yeah, then I'm like, okay,
You're
cool.
kidding.
Let me go to this dinner party. Who else is going to be there?
that-
Oh, Wayne Gretzky's going to be there. I got fucking Mike Eisner, president of Disney. I'm like, great. Let me introduce him to my YouTube channel. And what else? Well, I'm back in the back of the room. I'm like texting people, hey, I'm going to LA. What's up, bro? I haven't talked to you in a while. Oh, cool. I have this TV show that's going to interview me. Oh, cool. Why don't you go there? And you own a model agency. Why don't you bring some models? Let's do some cool stuff together. But that's just today. I mean, you know, tomorrow I'll probably do the same thing. You know, but I mean, I'm just doing this shit all the time because I'm a connector. It's like what Malcolm Gladwell said, I think, in Blink. He talks about how like you should have this intuitive decision where you just take action on almost anything that you do. And he talks about how there's different levels of business organizers and business leaders. One's a connector, one's an implementer, etc. You know, I'm definitely all about speed of execution. I mean, that's king. Field experience is king, but I'm also a hardcore connector. I'm probably like one of the out of average people, because I'm not like the president of the USA, but I probably know more people than anyone else I've met other than like two other people. One is Larry, who I told you about earlier, Larry Benet. And there is Elliot Bisnow, who created the Summit Series, which is like the cooler, newer, hipper, more elite, and more exclusive version of TED, where they bought a mountain and they allow influencers and powerful people
Which the
there.
Summit Series thing is better than TED?
Way better than TED, by far. TED is open to almost everyone now.
TEDx is.
Well, yeah, but even TED itself ain't Davos. It's like the older version. It doesn't have like everyone. I mean, Summit Series is by far way better.
Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, just finding out about all these cool clubs, and there's a lot of copycats of these clubs. Members of cool clubs create cool clubs within the cool clubs.
Yes.
I mean, even from me going to Summit Series for years, I ended up deciding to just invite 50 of these guys to like mini castles I rented in Vegas. There's these 4 mini castles, each with 4 mini guest houses, and 4 pool areas, and I rented it out, and I invited key influencers to help me fund it. Each of them just put $3,000-$4,000 in the pot. We had 50 people, and it paid for the whole event. Didn't really make a profit, maybe $1,000-$2,000, but I didn't care about it. I just cared about the experience I was able to organize. And it's not like I made money off of this or even led to business or sales or customers. I just naturally have that passion to want to connect with other business leaders and successful people and have that inspire me, because when you're around these people, they inspire you. Like, they might be talking about something completely unrelated to your business. For example, one guy's talking about some kind of crazy corporate financial scheme or some crazy marketing scheme or something that you can never do, but just talking about general topics of marketing or finance or social networking or whatever, it just inspires my mind to think in different ways I might not have thought of, and that's why I went to business school. You know, I created the RSD Free Tour from a business school idea where somebody was talking about how in operations internationally around the world, multiple businesses have different kind of like assembly lines and different channels, and they have to flow in different ways. Now, my mind went from doing business operations and travel, and I said, well, travel and business, you know, what can I do to, and that's how the RCP Tour, it just had nothing to do with creating live programs around the world. But then I was like, you know what, this is cool. How am I gonna create a free tour? And then I was in the airport and just reading a magazine, and I said, whoa, here's a map of tons of cities that American Airlines and Delta and United will fly to. Well, I just rip out the map and fly to all of them in like a 6-month period and organize a free tour in all of them, in 270 cities, and I did that. Actually, you attended one of them in Australia. And I think it's just the combination of random thoughts in my head just goes into random directions, and that's why I like being around really powerful, influential people. I did this also with random people that attended War Room. You're a big fan of Ryan Dice.
I'm a big fan of Perry Belcher.
Yeah, so these guys have business seminars. I love going to business seminars, even if they're just weekend seminars for networking. And then I'll invite groups of these people to organize private events. I'm like, you know what? I'm organizing my own version, but the only difference is it's free. And let me just see if my buddy Tony Shea wants to have it. So we did an event like 3 times at his home. And you know, everyone's like, oh wow, he's a billionaire. Well, he just wants to be around cool people also.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually, I mean, it's funny, sometimes the higher net worth the person, the more casual they actually are.
Yeah, usually if I go to a conference, it's not the guys wearing the suits, it's the guys who are wearing hoodies that are the real players. You know, so I go to a conference, I'm sitting next to the guy in a hoodie before I'm sitting next to the guy in the suit. Usually the guys in the suit, the people that you're hiring.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good point. That's funny, right? A couple more questions?
As someone who's seen RSD from the ground up when it started, I mean, how do you view RSD now? Like, what is run with it
In general,
in general?
He's like, dance.
how do I view RSD in general? I view RSD as it's transformed, kind of for me, as this personal passion project to help me pick up girls to an organization that is like my livelihood and the livelihood of, you know, over 100 people. And it's also like the future of this really powerful movement. And I view Tyler like a brother more than a business partner, like a family. And he has this vision and mission to create massive impact with as many people as possible. With this high quality content, he wants to kind of funnel his skills in public speaking into 4 mega niches, which is the dating and relationships, health and fitness, business and wealth, and higher purpose. Dating relationships is like what we're doing now. Health and fitness is guys like Brandon Carter, Elliot Hulse, Unibody. Higher purpose is like Eckhart Tolle. And then business and wealth is things like I'm doing with the RSD Founders Club or my YouTube channel, or Bill Walsh, the sales guru, and other business people, or maybe potentially even going in field with sales organizations as their undercover wingman to close deals, which we actually have done for real estate companies or cigarette companies and other kinds of random businesses, from marijuana to personal success and growth companies. But we don't really advertise it heavily yet because we've been doing it just under the table, relating the pickup skills we do. And I got really more passionate about that stuff more recently because I've been so deep in phone calls and operations and meeting and setting up systems and growth and continually doing random tasks that I got bored of that process. So I created a YouTube channel 3 months ago about how I built RSD, my views on RSD. You know, it's youtube.com/NickCoOfficial, and I also create RSD Founders Group, which is a program where I talk about these things because I just wanted something that was more creative and passionate and fun. And I thought I could create a product that kind of like fund the channel and the growth of this. And so I spend a lot of my time now reconnecting with all these influencers, business leaders, best-selling authors, and celebrities that have unique networks and ideas. I'm going to use my experience in RSD, showing that we were able to get success, and kind of connect with these people, reconnect with these people, people that I viewed as really powerful and influential in my life, or people that I even haven't really gotten to know that well. Like recently, I did interviews with people that I've kind of idolized, like Harvey McKay, who wrote a book called Swimming with the Sharks. And I'm releasing an interview with him and Keith Ferrazzi and other people who I really don't really think I would have ever connected with, like famous hip hop artists or managers, or, you know, 2 days ago I was hanging out with Mike Tyson. Like, who would be, you know, hanging out socially with Mike Tyson if it wasn't the fact I would have like an excuse to interview people about success and share his content and ideas. I mean, it's kind of cool because now I have an excuse. So in the same way when I was building my soul circle with girls, I had that excuse to have a party or connect with cool people or have fun events or cool ideas to share. I'm now able to do that in the business world. That's why I'm doing it. And it's kind of like a massive skill set I have. Tyler says I have this skill set of building sticky relationships where people could get to know me very quick and fast and easy, as if they know me for years. I'm very open about who I am. Yet they might not even know me. You probably know more about me than you might know about some of the people that you've known for weeks in this room, because I'm just open about who I am and all these crazy things that I do. And I'm really good at doing that fast. It's like massive elevator pitches my entire day, all day long, with people that feel like they know me very well. They'll call me brother, they'll hang out with me and treat me like a close friend. You know, might not have hung out with them for more than a few minutes, maybe less than an hour. I just am really good at that skill set. And that's what Pickup's all about. And that's a skill set that I use to develop and organize parties. And then I learned about the process of attraction, understanding female psychology, to use that for Pickup. Same thing works in business. I interviewed a lot of people who say the parallels exist. Tucker Max, Big Mike, Middle Eastern royalty. I've interviewed all these people and they always say the same thing. You know, it's a very simple concept. As long as you understand these concepts, these general principles that we teach within RSD apply for business and your social and dating life. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sweet.
Oh, I got a question. Besides your channel and Luke's channel, what resources do you recommend for
None besides R2.
learning this stuff?
Only R2.
Well, if you go to my channel, I actually have a list of recommended YouTube channels, but that's kind of a biased version because it's all RSD instructors and all RSD channels.
So it's not biased, it's just pure accurate. I mean,
I do like watching channels of other people outside of RSD now and then, but they're usually people that are friends of RSD. I'm loyal to my friends. So I like watching Nicole Arbor's channel because we have a lot of similar core values and beliefs. He's also highly controversial. And also she's creating music videos. And I'm doing the same thing. In fact, you're going to see a video of me battling Tyler and also having her and other people in music videos. 'Cause I think it'd be really cool to have RC in the entertainment
So
realm.
what do you mean you battling Tyler? You just kind of
Hip-hop
slipped that in
battles.
there. So
Yeah.
What does
But
that mean?
I'm creating a rap about educating people about the business behind RSD. And I'm also doing about success and success barriers and overcoming obstacles and controversy. And I
but
think,
it's a proper music video, though, right?
yeah, I mean, one of them is going to be before our next party at our house. These are $1 million productions. Like every 6 months, we have literally $1 million party at our house. We have people like from everyone from the royal family of Saudi Arabia to like the leaders of major industries like Herbalife or powerful influencers. And Luke comes to our house parties. He went to your last one. They're excellent. That's us on the level where we're not just relying on sponsors anymore. We have friends that have money, and we also have our own money and friends, and we invite everyone together, and it's cool.
And but you're actually going to film the rap video at the house.
Yes.
And it's going to be you
We
and
got-
Tyler rap battling.
Part of it, yeah.
It's like
we got Roger Love, the vocal trainer of Tony Robbins, who's also Tyler's vocal trainer, as mine. I go to his sessions with Tyler. We got other like famous choreographers that are going to get involved. I don't want to reveal any names yet, but you'll see them because it's going to be epic. Everything we do has got to be epic. We got. I always viewed that if you wanted to take the situation from RSD, having like, on the large end, maybe a couple thousand people, and then on the average end, 200 to 500 people at free tours, or, for lesser popular structures than Tower, it might be less, to like filling up nightclubs. You gotta got music, entertainment, comedy, stuff involved. Now Tower's always been throwing comedy in there, but I remember reading articles where they quote him saying comedy, and they'll make it
As
sound
if
crazy.
a literal statement?
Yeah. So we gotta be known for entertainment. I also like Gary Vaynerchuk. I've known this guy for a good decade. I mean, back in the day,
Back in like even Wine Library days, not even.
in the Wine Library days where RSD, his company, Wine Library, Tony Hsieh's company, Zappos, and Drew Houston's company, Dropbox, all of us were hanging out together on a mountain, and all of us had the same size companies.
That's
now we all
crazy.
have these successful companies.
That are
And
equal in size.
equal in influence, definitely not equal in revenue. But I mean, Owen thinks it's funny that I make this analogy. I think that, we're definitely not scrubs. We're definitely hustling, and we're taking stuff to the next level. If you look at these guys, all these guys now have brands that are, in the $1 billion range, but we have a huge influence, and his focus has always been on that influence as opposed to the scaling and systems. My focus has always been on that scaling and systems, but the pickup niche in and of itself can command a ton more revenue than we're doing now as we penetrate the mainstream, especially when people know who you are, like in the movie's coming out next year. It's going to help a lot, as opposed to me trying to like elaborate through this elaborate speech that we create this company. It does this and this and this. This is how we do this. Be like, oh yeah, we're this from this movie. You've seen the movie. You know what the movie is. You know who we are. Cool. Super easy. And once you get to that point, that's going to help us a lot. And then also as you build into these other niches, because the process, if you look at RC Nation, the top of RC Nation, it's just 3 things: dating advice, self-actualization, identity level change. Those last 2 could be combined with all those other mega niches. And Tyler really has this brain that just continues to evolve. I remember when I first was watching Tyler talk, I was shocked. I was like, dude, you have all these amazing things to talk about, epiphany after epiphany. It's like just shocking, getting information from a water hose kind of thing. How does your brain work? And he said, my brain works like the intro to Star Wars, where the words just slowly come down the page. So I asked him this question, and he probably didn't even remember his answer. But I told him, I remember 10 years ago, you told me how you thought. He said it was like Star Wars. He goes, yeah. And I said, well, is that how it works now? He goes, no. Now it's like 2 screens of Star Wars at the same time from 2 different films. I could bounce from one to the next because I have so many ideas. It's like overload. I have to get more information out there, more ideas. And it's always been my belief in Tyler and the people that surround him. Not the idea, not the product. Just the people that I believed in. That's why I was able to dedicate my career and my entire, rest of my life to this mission and vision, because of my belief in Tyler's capabilities. But I think it's epic. That's why everyone else is here.
Sweet. Awesome. Thanks, bud.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.